mentioned, I'm Madison. I'm here from Global Brigades, and today I'm really excited to talk to you about identifying unique opportunities to volunteer internationally. So just to start off with a little bit of background about myself, I was not a pre-med student. I don't have a medical background, but am really deep in the nonprofit world. So I studied international studies and had a concentration in development, as well as Latin American, Iberian, and Latinx studies, which was essentially Spanish and its culture at the University of Richmond. While at U of R, I studied abroad in Argentina for a semester and absolutely loved it. That was really the first time that I got to travel internationally by myself, and loved it so much that the next summer I worked as an intern in Guatemala. I was working with a nonprofit that worked with women's empowerment within indigenous communities. And then following graduation, I was a Princeton and Latin America fellow in the Dominican Republic, where I was teaching English at a rural school. So I was there for just about a year until COVID hit. Had to pivot a little bit, and then since have been back in Richmond, Virginia. I also have my master's in social justice from Prescott College, and I've been at Global Brigades since 2021. So a little bit over, a year and a half. And my role at Global Brigades today is largely working with students like you. So I work remotely. I am talking to students all day, every day. So it is so fun and refreshing to get to see a group of people in person. If you have questions after this, I would love to talk to you, because it's just so great to have this face-to-face time when this is the work that I'm usually doing at home remotely from Richmond. So zooming out a little bit to share more about Global Brigades. So our mission is to inspire, mobilize, and collaborate with communities to achieve their own health and economic goals. Our vision is millions of empowered community members with the resources and capacity to thrive. So is anybody here involved with Global Brigades at UT? I know we have a, yay, okay. Are you going on the brigade to Greece soon? I went last year. Okay, amazing. Where did you go? And how was it? Okay, amazing. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I was hoping we would have a GB face in the crowd. And that's great, obviously. And I'll be sharing a little bit more today about our organization, but just keep in mind that there is an active group on your campus that you can jump right into. They're going to Greece in about 2 weeks, and I'm sure we'll also have more exciting brigades on the calendar in the future. So where did we start? We are an international sustainable development nonprofit, and like any organization, had to start somewhere. And we actually started with a group of pre-med students. So our founder, Sheetal Vora, was a part of a group of pre-med students back in 2003 that traveled to Honduras with a group of pre-med students just like you. So in 2003, like I mentioned, when Duffy Casey and Sheetal Vora led a group of doctors and healthcare professionals to Honduras for the first ever medical brigade, that's when Global Brigades was essentially born. Global Brigades was founded by and is still fueled by students. So like I said, they were pre-med students like you. They were interested in international work. They wanted a volunteer experience, but they also had, some inherent limits about how long they could travel. Maybe a typical study abroad wasn't a good fit. I know you have a lot of pre-med coursework that you need to fit in. And this very first brigade, it was just a week long. That's still the length of our brigades today. But even just over that 1 week, it led our co-founders to realize both the impact that students can have on communities abroad and the impact that volunteering abroad can have on pre-med students as future healthcare providers. So after that original brigade to Honduras, Sheetal worked on formalizing the organization and created Global Medical Relief as a U.S. nonprofit, while Duffy stayed in Honduras to continue to build out local infrastructure within the medical program. Shortly thereafter, our co-founder and current Chief Strategy Officer, Steve Atamian, focused on creating resources and infrastructure to spread the word within the U.S. and expand the word to more universities. So Global Brigades started as a medical relief program. They went on this very first brigade with a team of doctors where they were just kind of doing whatever was needed. They were lugging suitcases, they were helping clean up the clinic, getting things set up, spreading the word in local communities. But shortly thereafter, as an organization, we really began to realize that we needed to expand what we were doing to make this more holistic and sustainable in the communities that we were working in, which led to the creation of our holistic model. So our holistic model seeks to reduce the strength of factors that amplify poverty, such as nutrition and access to clean water, and change the direction of the factors that drive poverty, such as education accessibility and financial services. However, all of these factors are interconnected, which is why we are approaching communities holistically. So to put it really simply, we were going in and providing medical care, which of course is impactful. That is going to be great in a community. But at the end of the day, if you come in and receive medical care, but you go home and do not have access to clean water, or you do not have any economic opportunities, or you do not have legal protection as a woman, that is only going to go so far in the quality of life improvement within a community. So enter the holistic model. All of the initiatives that we're working on are also working towards the goal of independent sustainability and Global Brigades actually no longer being needed in the communities that we're working in. So we don't want to create a system where they are always dependent on what we are bringing in, but rather that the work that we are doing is empowering them and their own leaders to eventually be sustainable with the models and infrastructure that we've been able to use to support them. We're looking to avoid any of those quick Band-Aid type fixes within nonprofit work and instead work for something long-term. And so our holistic model is made a little bit more quantifiable. We love putting numbers to things, becomes more tangible with the Empowered 300. So our goal is to reach 300 communities, which covers over 65,000 people in rural areas of our partner countries, to permanently rise out of poverty through our 3 core components, which are healthcare, WASH, and economic development. And those 3 core components of healthcare, WASH, and economic development are actually modeled after the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So it's something that we've created, but is also modeled after something that is even bigger. So what that looks like for our brigades under our sustainable health systems, which is probably what you guys are going to be the most pumped about, that's where we're doing medical brigades, dental brigades, and public health brigades. Under economic development, we're doing business programs and legal empowerment. Under water and sanitation, we're doing water and engineering. And as I mentioned, these are all super interconnected. And one more cool thing about the Empowered 300 is it was actually the Empowered 100 originally, but because this is something that is moving along, so many more communities are entering into this empowered status, we were able to bump the number up to 300, which is just really exciting for how things are gonna look over the next couple of years. So in summary, this started with one group of students, pre-med students, just like you. They went on a brigade to Honduras. It was a life-changing experience, and they were ready to scale it up. That was the foundation for Global Brigades. We've since expanded in a lot of different directions. So we've expanded in the types of programs that we're doing. We're not just doing medical, we're doing water, engineering, legal empowerment. We've expanded in the countries where we're active. We started in Honduras. Now we're throughout Central America, and we're also in Greece and Ghana. We've also expanded with the universities that are involved. We started with Marquette University. It's a small liberal arts university in the Midwest, and now we are all over the country, including here. We're active at hundreds of schools, also a handful internationally. So again, where we work, and this also means locations of where you could travel as a volunteer. We're active throughout Central America. We started in Honduras, and that's still where we have the most team today. Everybody that works with us in the US actually works remotely, and people always ask me, well, like, where's your headquarters? Like, where's your home base? And usually I say Honduras because that's where we have the most people that work with us still today. We've expanded to Guatemala and Panama. We're active in Ghana, and we're active in Greece. Something I'll highlight about Greece that makes it a little bit unique is it's our one setting that is much more urban. So we're working in super rural areas throughout Central America and West Africa. Usually when I say that we also have Greece, it kind of stands out as a little bit different because we actually are in Athens, which is, of course, a major city. And the reason for that is we actually have a partnership with the UN where we're largely working with the refugee and asylum-seeking community. So even though we're in a major city, we're still working with a population that generally lacks access to healthcare. I won't read through all of these numbers, but just wanted to glance quickly to kind of show you what that impact looks like today across all of our different partner countries and how many people that really means in each of these countries. And this is our impact report from 2021, so these numbers are only continuing to go up. All right, so I feel like I've given you a good overview of Global Brigades as a nonprofit, how we got started, what our programs are, what our goals are, but where do you come in as a volunteer? So next I want to kind of break down what it looks like for you as a volunteer, what the value is for you as a future physician, and also just, the fun part, like what it looks like while you're there. So I'm going to show a quick video from Honduras. I think getting to see directly what's going on there can be really helpful. I'm actually going to Honduras tomorrow to spend a week there, so I'm also really excited to get to talk about what I'll be up to the next week. So this is about 5 minutes, and I'll go ahead and get that started.
doctors their nurses or medications that try to have a consultation for their needs, walk 2-3 hours all the way down to a health center to find a close or hear from a doctor that there is no medicines and that they have to buy.
Solo tenemos el centro de salud con una enfermera, pero no tenemos médico y tampoco medicamentos.
Me queda muy largo el hospital y aquí, ya hoy que lo vinieron, está más cerca de mi casa y para transportarme a la biblioteca es muy caro.
Las enfermedades más comunes, al igual que el resto del país, pues tenemos lo que son las infecciones del tracto respiratorio, las diarreas, las infecciones de la piel, tenemos las enfermedades crónicas, tales como la hipertensión, la diabetes.
Diseases that we treat during the days are respiratory diseases, skin problems, and last years we had an increase in high blood pressure and diabetes too.
La coordinación con Global nos ayuda mucho a beneficiar a la gente.
The medical brigade works like a model clinic. We have the first station that is intake, that is managed and handled by people and volunteers in the community. After the patient receives her patient form and gives all the personal information, it moves down to the next station of the brigade, that is triage. Triage is handled by the students, by the volunteers. We take all the kinds of vitals, weight, height, temperature, blood pressure, and you ask the patient what is the name, the shift complaint, what is he or she on the day.
They talk to us about symptoms they have and problems they've been having, things like fever or blood pressure or stomach pain.
She or he sit down in front of the doctors and explain to the doctors her illness or her pain. They are seen by the doctor, they are checked out by the doctor, and the doctor prescribes the medication that they need.
And honestly, they didn't even seem tired. It was amazing. And so I asked, how do you do this? Like, how do you continue to work, throughout the entire day? And he said, because it's not just because, we're treating them and it's just, my job. It's honestly, it's something I love to do, love helping others and saving lives. Without these doctors, this couldn't happen.
Once they leave the consultation room, if it's a woman and if she needs or she asks for it, she moves to the pap smear station. We are helping a lot of women that they don't have access to have this test because of economic situation, because they have to move all the way down to the city for seeing a doctor. And 2 or 3 weeks later, they receive the results of that pap smear for free, and if they need any treatment, they also receive that treatment for free. The other station, that is dental station.
I'm a dentist and I've been working with Global Brigades more than 2 years. This is what we do in medical brigades. Dentistry, pure dentistry, diagnosis and treatment of our patients every day. When we work in medical brigades, 90% of our patients are in pain. We basically do two different treatments, extractions and fillings.
We perform fillings, extractions, cleanings, fluorizations.
This is a very amazing opportunity because we can provide dental treatments and dental care to everyone. We had the opportunity to go to the school and get a degree, and now it's time to give back a little bit to the people who really need it in our country.
After they have seen the doctors, they have seen the dentists, and they have the pap smears, patients move to the educational station.
Not only do we treat the patients, but we teach them on how to improve their health.
Where volunteers of the community talk to them of several health topics like how to purify water, how to keep the latrines clean, how to deal with high blood pressure problems, with diabetes. They learn about cervical cancer, about prostate exams and prostate cancer. So they receive this information, and the great part of this station is performed by volunteers of the community. Volunteers that previously had been trained by our staff members, the pre-preparation of the brigade, and we are empowering them. We're empowering the community, and we are involving them and getting them involved with our job.
Que nos ha dado pues, el doctor Cruz, pues yo me siento pues capacitada para tomar una presión arterial, por ejemplo, para saber cuando una persona necesita ayuda porque está deshidratada con una diarrea, o también por una neumonía, pulmonía. Eso yo lo he aprendido del doctor Cruz.
While they are on this charla, the members or the team of pharmacy is working, preparing all the medications that the doctors gave to these patients. So that when the charla ends, they receive all the medications for free.
The whole idea of Global Brigades is that it's not just one aspect. There are multiple aspects, microfinance, business, architecture, medical, of course. We could attain sustainability.
No voy a decir que todo es fácil, no voy a decir que todo es tranquilo, es difícil, pero creo que al final del día, cuando logras tus propósitos, sí te sientes satisfecho, sí te sientes bien.
Whoops. There we go. All right, so let's dive into a little bit more about what that would look like for you as a volunteer in Honduras or another one of our partner countries. So as you saw a little bit in that video, we are going into rural areas. I'm going to use Honduras as an example, setting up in a school or community center in an area where the residents might not have access to another form of healthcare, potentially within hours. When you're arriving in Honduras for a brigade, it's actually so insightful because you fly into the airport, you're in the city, you get in the bus, and you are driving a couple hours, couple more hours, things are getting more and more rural, and so you will see for yourself. You're in the city where there is healthcare access, and you will see how far you're going out to where some of these communities are located. And so we're setting up in a school or a community center. We're not in a formal medical building for our rural clinics, but within that school, we are able to set up a whole system of different stations that patients can rotate through. So we're doing initial general intake and triage, consultations, dentistry. At times we'll have specialty stations like gynecology, dermatology, ophthalmology, and then we also have a pharmacy station and a public health station. So for you as a pre-med student, this is really cool because you're gonna get to see a lot of different healthcare providers in action all in 1 week. We've had students come before that had zero interest in dentistry, but loved the dental station, or vice versa. They thought they were into it, they saw some extractions, they changed their mind. Either way, that's okay. I think it's really great to just see a lot of different specialties in action. Like Sahil mentioned earlier, getting to see different things and compare and really help narrow down what you personally are interested in is incredibly valuable. And while you're there, all of the healthcare professionals that you're working with are going to be local to that country. You can bring a healthcare professional if there's someone that wants to join your group, but the vast majority of the healthcare leadership is going to be local. So that means that you're also learning from healthcare providers in another country. They're all bilingual and they're all there both to first and foremost see and support the patients that we're seeing, but also to help you learn. They're all so great about doing Q&A as they go. The whole thing is really interactive. So a patient comes in, they're describing their symptoms, the doctor is listening, pausing, making sure you understand, seeing what you would ask, and then going back and forth with them. It's a really cool way to almost role play and get to practice some medical Spanish in a way that still is perfectly safe for the patient. Another cool element of our clinic is the public health station. So that's a station where you're actually giving what we call charlas, which is just a casual presentation to community members. We often do children's charlas, which are especially fun and focused towards the younger members of the community, where we're presenting on things like COVID, nutrition, chronic illnesses, to also perpetuate the educational impact of our programs. So while you're there, you'll be rotating through these different stations. What you're doing will vary depending on what station you're in and what patients are coming in. Like I mentioned, you're in a really rural area where people do not, unfortunately, have access to healthcare very conveniently. So because of that, we never really know exactly who is going to come in that day, just always that it's always a really wide range of cases. And so you'll get to rotate through all of that and get to see all of this hands-on. So I also wanted to take a little bit of time to just talk about the big picture with what we're doing. Because as I mentioned, our brigades are a week long. So for you, that is a week packed full of learning and new experiences. But for our communities, we also want that impact to not just be 1 week. And so we have a lot of different programs going on that do perpetuate this being a more sustainable program. The first thing is our Community Health Entrepreneur Program. That is the picture we have up there with some recent graduates from our Community Health Entrepreneur Program from Agua Fria in Honduras. And what our Community Health Entrepreneur Program is a training program for local community leaders. So as you saw in the video, there's a woman that mentioned yeah, I know how to take blood pressure now. And that's because of these programs. So we're not sending large groups of people through full Honduran medical school, but what we are doing is meeting them where they are and giving them training to serve as an initial triage barrier for when things come up in the community. So they can prescribe basic medications, they can do vitals, they can tell someone, this is something you need to go to the hospital. They can point them in the right direction, which is still a huge step forward. Another cool thing about this program is I want to highlight the word entrepreneurs. So this was actually originally the community health worker system, but the reason that we're calling it entrepreneurs is that the participants of this program, who are largely women, are actually able to now sell the medications that they are prescribing within the community. And that is super valuable because now not only do they have these new skills to help provide healthcare within their community, they also have their own business. So it's economically sustainable for them to be able to sell these medications, learn those business skills, do the bookkeeping, keep track of all of that. And so the value for the women that are doing this is so limitless and really exciting. We also have our urban clinics. So in Honduras, we have 2. In Greece, we have 1. And those clinics are open 365. So even when we don't have a brigade there, those are available to see patients. So if someone comes into one of our rural clinics, they need to be referred for a follow-up for their extraction. Great. We have a place to send them where the healthcare is still available and affordable. We also have our patient referral program. So like I said, we're set up in a school, which has limitations. If someone comes in that we realize they're going to need an operation, they're going to need a new prosthetic leg, they're going to need some type of specialty procedure that we cannot perform in the school that day, which unfortunately is a lot of things, enter in the patient referral program. We don't want to just send them away with nothing. We're able to refer them to the type of care that they need. And then we also have an online fundraising system to fundraise for some of those specialized cases. And then the last 2 kind of tie together, and that's our online patient data and our monitoring and evaluation team. So we have a really robust M&E team that is keeping track of all of the patients that come in. Looks a little different probably than, when we all go to the doctor nowadays, you're entering everything into an online portal. We're going into areas that might not have internet access, but we're still making sure that we keep track of everything for when we return. So if a patient comes in and is diagnosed with a chronic illness, they're given a prescription, when we return to that clinic, we can pull up that data and reflect follow up so that everything is consistent from visit to visit. This is also helpful for us as an organization because if we are in a community and we're seeing, oh my goodness, 9 out of 10 cases in this community were people that were sick from waterborne illnesses, maybe it's time to look into water, public health, and engineering projects in that community. So it's helpful for us to track our own progress and then also helpful for the community members to be able to keep track of their own health. So for you guys as future healthcare providers, there's a lot to gain here. There are hard skills. You're getting to practice medical Spanish. If you know any Spanish at all, we want you to practice it while you're there. It's a really great chance to practice it in a way that is comfortable and low stakes because you're doing it alongside local healthcare providers. We also have translators that are available the entire time so you can really comfortably just practice and give it a shot. Even if you, I speak Spanish, I studied it in college and I went to Honduras over the summer and realized I know 0 medical Spanish. I learned so much new things just being there for a week. So there is really so much to learn by doing that in person. There's also really valuable experience taking vitals, shadowing. Like I said, you're going to be amongst a variety of different healthcare professionals and are able to learn so much from them. The soft skills are also really limitless in what you can take away from this. Cultural competency, teamwork, flexibility, open-mindedness, an international perspective on healthcare. You are going to be somewhere where you're probably going to be a little bit out of your comfort zone. It's different to be shadowing a doctor in Honduras than it is to shadow a doctor in Austin. And that's okay. We encourage you to be comfortable with being uncomfortable while you're there, to jump into a setting that may be new. And I think the open-mindedness and flexibility that you can gain is really only going to help you in your future career. And I think just the general increased sense of empathy and patient communications that you'll get from being in an area that is so different from where we are here is only going to help you in the future. But overall, it's a really unique hands-on experience that is going to equip you to succeed applying for. This is something unique that's going to help you stand out during. You're going to have all of these interesting experiences to draw on. And then after, we have medical professionals that volunteered with us as pre-med students and now are coming back as healthcare professionals. So this is something that you could potentially be a part of in the long term. So because UT Austin has a chapter on campus, which is awesome, it makes it really easy if you want to get involved. And because the UT chapter is so strong, I was looking at their brigade history and they have gone on so many brigades over the last several years, which is really great. So I wanted to also share just quickly a little bit more about some of our options that we have to expand your brigade even further. So we're always looking at feedback that we get from brigades, and one of the biggest feedback responses that we were getting was that students wanted to spend more time in the country where they were, which is awesome. We want to make that happen for you, and we have a couple ways to do that. One is a new research component. So as I mentioned, we are keeping track of a ton of patient data, which leaves a lot of room for some really interesting research. So we're looking for students to both support our research. So we are, for example, one active project is to track the efficiency of our new community health entrepreneur program. So we're looking at the data, we're looking to see how that's impacting the health data that we're taking in from communities that have those community health workers. So we're looking for support in that way. We've also had students that come in and collect data while on brigade to support their own research. So if you have a passion project, if you are working on a thesis or some type of research component here and you want to apply international information to that, this is an awesome way to do it. We also have additional add-on days if you want to just explore more of the country while you're there, because of course, why not? You're in Greece, you're in Panama, you're in Honduras, you've flown there, you want to see a little bit more. We also have additions to add on both beyond the clinic days for fun cultural activities and also additional add-ons if you wanted to learn more about some of our other programs. And all of this can be done through your chapter. Lastly, we also have a fun new program that is launching this summer in Ghana. So something that's unique about this program is that you can actually get involved as an individual. The vast majority of our brigades are through universities, so joining the group at your school, but this is going to be made up of students from all around the country, all different schools. Another thing that makes it unique is it's actually longer than a week. It's going to be a full 12-day program in Ghana where you're shadowing in 3 different healthcare facilities. So you're going to be an urban hospital in the city, a kind of halfway urban, halfway rural clinic that's a little bit smaller, in a municipal clinic, and then you're going to be in a fully rural clinic. So you're going to see 3 different areas. While you're in the hospital, you're also going to get to shadow a little bit more intensively than you might be in a rural clinic. So since you're in a hospital, you're going to get to shadow in on surgeries. It's going to be a little bit more hands-on, and you're going to get to see a wider range of things. That's happening this summer, so if you're interested in that, I would encourage you to sign up ASAP and reach out to me with any questions. Lastly, I have a form here. This is also linked on the handouts that we passed out just to get some of your information. I'll say it one more time. We have a chapter here. We're always looking to grow our chapters. We're always looking to grow the number of brigades that they're going on. I know that we have a medical chapter, but we do not yet have public health. So if you have an interest in public health, let's get it going. Like, there's no better leadership opportunity than getting something started. If you know someone that's pre-dental, send them my way. We're always looking to grow and always looking to expand. So that's all I have on my end. I'm really grateful again to have the chance to get to talk to you guys in person and share a little bit more about what we do. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here and also leave a little bit of time if anybody had any questions. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So all of our brigades have a donation goal associated with them. It varies a little bit by country and by program that you're doing. And your donation goal is going to include everything that's involved with your brigade except for your flight. So we're covering all of your meals, housing, transportation. We'll organize all of that for you. But everybody that signs up gets their own fundraising page. So it's really easy to share with friends and family. I'm sure there's some great fundraisers going on here on campus to help make that more feasible. And I can send you some additional information as well. Yeah.
Are there any skills you recommend you should have before going on one of these brigades?
Any skills? Yeah, great question. So it's not required to come in with any specific licenses or skills, but if you have any certifications or additional skills, we would love to make the most of that. We'll ask you if you speak Spanish, if you have any healthcare certifications. We want to get all of that down, but we also want this to be open to everybody, whether you are a medical school student or a freshman in undergrad. We want everybody to be able to go, so there are no requirements. Yeah?
How big are the teams usually?
Yeah.
Students or...
Yeah, that's a great question. So usually our minimum is around 20. That's kind of the sweet spot where you have a big group. It's fun to go with other students, but it's not too big. If the group does get really large, we'll make sure to split you up. So as you're rotating through those stations, you're typically not going to be with more than 2 to 5 other students per healthcare professional. So if you have a big group, that's great, and we'll just split you up to make sure that you're still getting some of that quality time, and also so that the patients are more comfortable and we don't have a massive group of students in the room. Any other questions?
I've gotten a lot of questions about clinical experience and gaining them, and then some about leadership, and then some about sort of shadowing. You can imagine why sort of going on one of these trips puts a lot of those things together potentially. And I think the most important part about that, though, is that you have to find an organization and a trip that is not a one-time, we're going down there for medical tourism kind of thing. We see right through that in the admissions, right? So I see so many applicants who are like, I went to India and shadowed. Did you go to India or did you go there for a wedding because your family was there? I see a ton of that, trust me. And so what you want to really try to be a part of is something that's bigger, something that's more sustainable. And Global Brigades is an excellent example that Madison just talked a little bit about, the holistic nature, the simple thing of like, hey, if you're a woman in one of these rural communities, health is one aspect. What about your rights, right? And that's for Global Brigades, they have an entire legal empowerment team, right? What about clean water? They have an entire water team. So I think all these things are super important as you're thinking about where to spend your time. If you can spend your time and check off some boxes for yourself, get some great experience, but then actually also make an impact in the community, like you have to do the latter too. Otherwise, it's not an experience that's worth going on. I think Global Medical Brigades is just a fantastic example of an organization that actually does all of this and not just, hey, we're going to send a bunch of students down here to stay on the side. Like these communities really, and I went on a brigade myself, and I saw the communities really depend on the physicians who come through. The urban clinic, for instance, in Honduras, is just constantly filled with patients. It's filled with students, probably 3 or 4 weeks a year, if that. But 52 weeks a year, it's serving the local community. So it's actually a really cool organization to be a part of and really impact the greater good, while also lifting yourself as a med school applicant.
Yeah, 100%. I'll echo what you mentioned too about, legal protections for women as highlighting one of our other programs. So it's not required to be in any field of study to be involved with any of our programs. So if you, had a passion for that legal empowerment, or you wanted to learn more about our water program, or maybe you are an engineering major and also pre-med, definitely feel free to explore our other programs as well. Our medical program is, of course, the most popular for pre-med students, but the other programs could also be a really unique way to stand out and kind of do something a little bit different than some of your other shadowing experiences. Yeah?
I know you mentioned elongated trips for research, but do you guys offer trips that are multiple weeks to months to medical as well?
Yeah, Yeah, so we actually don't offer anything that is that long, but we do have a lot of students that join on multiple brigades. We actually had a student that graduated recently that had visited all of our partner countries. So as long as you're looking to volunteer with us, we would love to have you. It can also be really interesting to spend, 1 or 2 weeks in various countries and kind of get to compare the healthcare systems between them. So the short answer is no, we don't offer anything of that length, but the long answer is yes, you can always get creative and expand. We also always have interns that work with us, so if you're looking for some type of longer term engagement, we can definitely work something out. All right, great. I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here, but again, if anyone has any questions or wants to come tag me after, I would love to chat. And I think we'll have a quick pause here before we get into our next session.